Good morning, everyone. Kris here with Inspired Energy. Good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning, Kris. Good morning, everyone.
So, as promised, we are diving into the next zodiac sign, which is Taurus. So, maybe to start the discussion, you can tell us what traditional astrology has to say about Taurus, and then we can go into human design.
Sure. Well, Taurus is, in my mind, is kind of the peaceful sign. They're loyal and reliable and consistent. They're in connection with their bodies, connection with the sensual world. They seek serenity, seek peace. They're like a bull in the meadow, unless you get them mad. You don't want to get a Taurus. It takes a lot to get a Taurus mad, but once they do get mad, you want to watch out. So Tauruses, in my mind, are often connected with a love of music, a love of gardening. You can think of the nature artist, a landscape artist, as a kind of Taurian energy. There is this calmness and this energy of slowness sometimes to a Taurus in comparison to others. Are you familiar with learning styles and talking about visual, auditory, kinesthetic?
Well, yeah, and tactile, and yeah. Yes.
Well, generally, you can tell what level a person is functioning at. The really fast talkers, they're visual. Gemini's and like boom, 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 boom. And the auditory people talk a little slower, and their voices are often more resonant. And people who are kinesthetic talk really slowly, and they're very in touch with their body. And
Right.
so I'd have to do more research, but I think of I think of Taurus as kinesthetic people, as a little slower.
And thoughtful.
Yeah. But not thoughtful that leads to a lot of verbosity.
No, kind of like observationally, right? They just observe.
Yeah, that's right.
So, what can you, if anything, encapsulate the energy of Taurus into some archetypes? What would they be?
Well, I would say, as I say, the landscape artist, the gardener, the builder, the owner, the provider. These are kind of energies or archetypes that encapsulate the Taurus energy.
Very steady.
Very steady, sometimes, focused on the material world, enjoying nurturing that which they own, that which, taking care of things well. Those are some of the qualities archetypally of Taurus.
Right. So, which gates correspond in human design to Taurus, and what do they mean?
Well, we have gate 27, 24, 2, 23, 8. These are the 5 we're going to be looking at most. The gate of ordering, which we talked about last week, is part of the channel of mutation, and it's kind of a straddle gate. And in my mind, it has more to do with Aries than Taurus, with that mutational energy. The first one that is fully and completely Taurus is gate 27, the gate of caring in the sacral center. And it is all about nourishing your tribe. It's about maintaining and enhancing the quality of life through the power to care for the weak and the sick and the young. They have gifts for nurturing, but they also must nurture and be nourished themselves. So because it's a tribal channel, it's about giving, it's about sharing.
Right.
Sharing nourishment, but also wanting nourishment for oneself. Gate 24 is up in the Ajna, and it's called the gate of rationalization. And its function is to go over the same territory again and again, and pondering a thought that is somehow intriguing to the person, until it can be brought into form, until something can be said about it. One moment the knowing is not there, and then out of the silence it arises.
Right.
Gate 2, which is in the G center and called the gate of the direction of the self, is about having an innate sense of inner direction and being able to point others towards resources that they might need in order to follow or get in touch with their own direction. Gate 23, which is also in the ajna, is the gate of inspiration. It's where inspiration is translated into language. Expression which initiates a new way of thinking. And its orientation is towards bringing something complex into a simple statement that people can understand. So there's an orientation there towards simplicity. And gate 8 is also, it's in the throat. It's about drawing people's attention to what is novel and innovative. It's about leading by example. It's about having a particular flair, a particular sophistication. So those are the gates that relate to Taurus. And I don't know, gate 8 is the gate of contribution. I don't know if I mentioned that.
No. But so how do these themes relate to Taurus?
Well, let's go through them again now with this in mind. So when we talked about gate 27, the gate of caring, which has to do with nourishment, that does feel very Taurus to me in a classic sense. There's that energy of taking care of the garden, of taking care of people, of being kind of mindful of folks.
Right.
So there's a sense of being connected to your community. There's a sense of caring for people who are less fortunate. That sort of taking care of feeling from the gate 27, that feels like it resonates with Taurus for me.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. The gate 24, gate of rationalization, is a little bit harder to see, but there is a focus there on silence. It's like going over something over and over again in your mind until it lands somewhere. So that pondering or thoughtful quality that you mentioned a moment ago, that fits for this. That sense of, I don't really have anything to share, but I'm thinking about something. And it's kind of like, you're out in the back 40, taking care of the cattle, or, chucking manure, or going about something daily, and yet your mind is playing with something until it lands. And it's out of that silence in its own timing that new awareness lands.
Right.
So that's the gate 24. So I can see that relating to that pondering quality of Taurus.
Right.
Gate 2, this is maybe the least easy for me to see. But gate 2 is also about that sense of being quietly connected to a sense of purpose. So in that sense, you could relate it to Taurus. It's the most purposeful gate in human design in some ways, because it's called the direction of the self. That's where the design crystal sits, with its innate sense of purpose. And so there's this kind of quiet sense of power or quiet sense of purpose that goes along with gate 2. And sometimes, it can direct others out of that energy. Gate 23, which I think before I might have, it's a throat gate. So gate 23 and 8 are both throat gates. But 23 likes to put things simply. It likes to find a way to be simple, and it's like, wow, that really landed. When it happens in a correct way, the insights that come through it can land in a very strong way, in a very simple but impactful way.
Mm-hmm.
And it can change the way we think, which isn't normally what I necessarily think around Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there can be that thoughtfulness. And gate 8, which is kind of the gate of style, the gate of contribution, the gate of drawing people's attention to what is novel and innovative. It's also about leading by example, doing things in an exquisite way. I think of a craftsman, who's a quiet, unassuming person, and yet he makes these incredible pieces of furniture,
Mm-hmm.
that are done with a real solidity, and a sense of beautiful simplicity and exquisite style.
Right.
So that to me does fit with Taurus as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be a sense of, archetypally, Taurus is sometimes linked with silence, with music. It's linked with touch and serenity. And
Mm-hmm.
so there are some of those we can start to feel, but in very specific and different ways.
Right. So, like, there's different patterns and things that you can see emerging as you're looking at these gates, right? And
Yeah,
how they tie into Taurus.
yeah, it's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
feeling that I'm getting. But of course, we don't often think, here we usually think of Taurus and each of these signs as just one thing. And
Mm-hmm.
now here we're starting to feel, oh, there's 5 different ways to be Taurus.
Yeah, exactly. It's,
Yeah,
yeah, because you can have different flavors of Taurus as well, depending on what your ascending signs are and things in astrology, right? So, yeah.
yes, yeah. And certainly all the factors in astrology play a part.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there is a way in astrology to think about, oh, you have somebody born in the first 10 degrees of a sign, and the second and the third 10 degrees, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be born in the first 10 degrees, the second 10 degrees, or the third 10 degrees. And astrology would tend to say that there was differences in those
Mm-hmm.
that are subtle, but astrologers do talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the idea that there can be subtleties within signs, but I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
somebody were to overlay astrology and human design, you come up with these 5 specific different things.
Yeah. So, what does the gene keys approach add to our understanding of this?
Well, some of the gene keys create words that we can meditate on, and I like that. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, the word for one of the couple of the words for gate 27, the gate of caring, are altruism and selflessness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, that feels like Taurus. Or gate 23, simplicity, or
Mm-hmm.
the quintessence of something, the inner true essence of something is the quintessence.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to the very core of something.
Mm-hmm.
That's gate 23 with its simplicity. Style and exquisiteness are related to gate 8, the gate of contribution. And
Mm-hmm.
so this feels, it feels like my understanding of astrology and the sign is shifted and made more subtle and more refined by looking at the gates relating to the particular,
Mm-hmm.
to the keys.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is that all of the gates of Taurus are linked with what is called the ring of life and death in the gene keys. Every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And these rings are about the chemical underpinnings of the different gene keys, which are related to the genetic makeup. And the ring of life and death is all about, how do I put it? The selectivity. Let's see if I can access that. The wizard is going for his books.
Good thing they're on the bookshelf.
Yeah. So let's see if I can access that quickly because I remember where it was, I believe. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. But the selectivity of the 2 and the caring of the 27 and the simplicity of the 23, these kind of resonate for me strong with Taurus.
Yeah.
But another interesting pattern emerged, which was that all of these gates, except for one of them. So 24, 2, 23, and 8 are all part of the individual circuitry, Kris.
Interesting.
Which was a little bit of a surprise for me. Only gate 27 is part of the tribal circuitry. So here we have Taurus, which is not particularly known for its individuality, and yet 4 of the 5 gates are in the individual circuitry, which, as a reminder, is all about mutation. It's all about what silently and quietly goes on beneath the level of human consciousness, is this urge towards growth, urge towards mutation, urge towards innovation. And so what it really reveals is that there's something much more individualistic and deeply innovative about many of the gates of Taurus than we realized.
Yeah.
And that there's a dynamism there which relates to being oneself, being connected to oneself, and needing to be responsive to the energy of evolution as it moves into the world.
Right.
So I found that intriguing.
Yeah, because you normally wouldn't see that. I don't think. I don't see Taurus as that. I see them more like just being like this selfless, grounded, down to earth kind of person, right? Mostly. So that's very interesting. Okay, so with that, do you have any final comments about our Taurus people out there today?
Well, the very first gate of Taurus, if we don't call the straddle gate, is that gate 27, the gate of nurturing, the gate of caring. And it's like, that's one of the ones that seems so obviously Taurus. But there's more to Taurus than the correct caring and the nourishing. There's this energy of being a quiet change agent in the world. And I really think that's worth meditating on when we think of ourselves as, if we have Taurus planets or Taurus people in our lives, about the quiet but powerful effect they may have on us.
Yeah, beautiful. So next week we are jumping to Gemini.
Gemini, the talkers.
Anybody out there that's a Gemini and a storyteller, you'll want to jump on and see where we take it. So if you would like further information or to go into your charts deeper or just have your first reading, you can give us a call here at Clarity, 587-596-3333, and book a reading or a consultation with Hartwell. And I'm sure you will love it and just want to keep going deeper like the rest of us. So with that, we're going to say goodbye. Have a wonderful day and God bless.